that hard. I'll tell you a true story. I read that book. I set a goal of having $25,000. He said, write what you want in a card. We've got cards for everybody. If you haven't got one, you can get one in the back of the room. A goal card. Put it in a plastic sleeve so you can carry it loose in your purse or your pocket. I had $25,000. That's what I wanted. I didn't even know anyone with $25,000. I was on the fire department. We'd had to sell the trucks to come up with that kind of money. But that was the goal. Well, I started to think about earning money, and I quit thinking about debt. If your goal is to get out of debt, you're going to stay in debt forever. You say, but my goal is to get out of debt. I don't care. I don't care if it's get out or get in. If you're thinking debt, you're going to attract debt. You've got to set up an automatic debt repayment program so you don't even think about it, and it's looked after, and then start thinking about prosperity or wealth. So I had this goal of $25,000. I started to think, somebody said, there's good money cleaning floors. I said, I'm not proud, I'll clean floors. So I scratched around. I got somebody to lend me $982, is what I needed, to buy an old floor machine, some buckets and mops, and I got one office to clean. Canada starts on Comstock Road in Toronto. I washed the floor twice a month, $15 a time. Then I got another office to clean, Kirby's Construction on Wakefield Avenue. I got $65 a month. Now I'm up to $100. $95. Man, I thought I was dying and going to heaven. I was only earning $400 a month on my job. Pretty soon I was earning $1,000, then $2,000, then $5,000. I thought, wow. Now the chief was only earning $11,200 a year. I went past that in monthly income, and I was still afraid to quit the fire department. That's how false security's got us wired, you see. Well, at any rate, I thought the answer was work harder. One day I woke up and I looked up, and there's a great big cop looking at me. He was huge. Then I noticed there's lights flipping all around. And then I noticed a crowd of people. And I was scared. I was regaining consciousness. I had literally passed out from exhaustion on the street. I thought the answer was work harder. I guess people thought I had dropped dead. They phoned cops and ambulance and everybody. Well, finally, you know, it was a scary situation. I finally regained it. And I said, I'm not going to the hospital. They had stretchers, everything there. I said, no. And I finally got away from them. But I got away. And now, I wasn't very bright, but I wasn't a complete imbecile. I thought, there's something wrong with what I'm doing. You know, I mean, I was never home. I was working night and day, and I worked to the point of exhaustion. So I got off by myself, and it was like a little voice in my head said, if you can't clean all of them, don't clean any of them. So I got all dressed up. Some people accuse me of sleeping in a suit. I wear it for a reason. I didn't want to clean the offices. Now, I'd call around and check on people at night. They wouldn't expect me to help them if I was all dressed up. I knew they were tired because I had cleaned offices. I got tired. So I'd bring them coffee and donuts or something, then I'd go and check on somebody else. And you know, in less than 5 years, I went from just cleaning offices in Toronto to Montreal, Boston, Cleveland, Atlanta, London, England. Took off like a rocket. Millions of dollars. I leveraged myself. That's exactly what he was talking to you about. Leverage yourself. That's what you can do on the internet. Now, don't let the fact that you don't know the internet scare you. It doesn't need to scare you. Anything scares you if you don't know anything about it. Understand you don't have to know all about it. There's people that will do stuff for you. I don't know how to do hardly anything outside of what I'm doing. I've got wonderful staff of people that work with me. Now look at it. He said, it's exciting as well as provocative, but it gets even better. Quantum leaps come without apparent effort. As you get into this type of thinking, your mind goes there. He said these are high-velocity moves that carry you to dramatically higher performance levels without time-consuming struggles. Now look at it. He said quantum leaps seem to violate common sense utterly. The idea of moving to a higher orbit and skipping several rungs on the achievement ladder in the process strikes people as far-fetched, maybe even outrageous. Some of what Sean was talking to you about, some of you, it's outrageous. We could never do that. These people are different. No. They're ordinary people that are doing things different. And then he says, after the fact, quantum leaps may be viewed as practical, sensible, even obvious moves. But they typically do not come to you as obvious moves at the moment. Usually, it's in retrospect that you perceive their hidden logic and elegance. I got to repeat that. I love that line. In fact, when I was talking to him on the phone, I said, you know, I've got to compliment you on your command of the English language. I said, you got such a wonderful vocabulary. And I had the book right in front of me. It was on my desk all the time. And I said, this is a line I love. Usually, it's in retrospect that you perceive their hidden logic and elegance. Invariably, quantum leaps are not complex or intricate maneuvers. They tend to be simple, energy efficient, and time-saving. Well, you know, as I look back at the cleaning, when I went from passing out on the street to operating in 7 different cities in 3 countries, it was just an ordinary move. Now, if somebody had told me just before I passed out in the street that, hell, Bob, you won't even have to work as hard and you could be doing it in Toronto, Montreal, Boston, I thought, they're out of their mind. But they weren't out of their mind at all. You see, this book literally changed my whole life. Without question. Now, you know, there's a lot of people read this book and nothing's happened to them. I tell people, tell me that they've got the book, but nothing's happened. But I read this in 1961 and my whole life changed. Here's the idea that stuck in my mind. And this is the idea you want to stick in your mind. How many of you, forget that idea for a second, just listen to me for a moment. How many of you, at some point during Sean's presentation, thought, man, this is really something? How many thought that at some point? Everybody. It is something. It really is. That's what this book did for me. I saw something in it. And I thought, wow, this idea stuck in my mind. He said, any idea. The idea that you were thinking about doing. You saw yourself doing something. He said, any idea that's held in the mind, that's emphasized, that's either feared or revered, goes both ways. Begins at once to clothe itself in the most convenient and appropriate form available. See, if you can build the idea and hold the idea, you can do it. You've got a higher faculty that